So over on NeoGAF, there's been this crazy post talking about this situation from China, where a Chinese indie dev went over to Sweden for a game design master program, saying the guy took some pictures of lecture slides and shared it on social media. Let's take a look at some of these slides. We've got this one saying men with breasts. Is that Laura?
Men with breasts? What?
Croft? The freak are they talking about? The next one we've got Exhibit A, saying Cloud Strife. In Final Fantasy VII 1997, and then again in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
What the
dress, I think it says. We can't see the full text. You can also see in the bottom line it says something something as queer. They then translated Swedish to Chinese, and someone translated Chinese back over to English using
design a fighting game character that is neither male nor female.
Image translation service, presumably on the internet. We could see that the slide had said something like, design a fighting game character that is neither male nor female. Think specifically about how they move through the world. How do they walk? How do they jump? How do they squat and get over obstacles? How do they attack and what attacks do they use? How and what do they defend? What special moves might they have? Then it says in gender studies. Something I can't read here. Radical feminism.
Depends on your theoretical perspective. That's what it says, I think.
Queer theory. Something else too small. Marxist feminism and decolonial theory. Next.
This is about video games? Are you kidding me? I'm Swedish and this is 100% correct. We don't fight back as much as Americans do since we don't have the same level of freedom of speech. I'm Swedish. All of this is real. Some of our game devs master programs are 690% DEI. What the fuck?
Slide says 2014 hashtag Gamergate. Research has changed since Gamergate. Hashtag Gamergate is a campaign organized by right-wing extremists, 4chan, 8chan, to...
I can't wait for in a couple of days to find out that USAID funded this PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, this is going to be great to find out and hear.
Of harassment campaigns against women, racial and sexual minorities, and the abstract concept of progress. Gamergate reaches mainstream attention. Gamergate sparked a debate about how women and marginalized people are treated in the gaming industry.
Of course.
And discussion about survival in the game.
Man, that is crazy. Oh my god. Thanks for warning about buy any game made in Sweden. Same in Germany. A lot of university programs include that stuff here. Yeah, I've always thought that this was institutionalized. Because, like, I couldn't see the shift in this happening because it happened very quickly, and it also happened on an institutional level, and it seemed to be happening against the consent of the actual audience. Because I remember when it originally, like, Gamergate happened, almost everybody was in favor of them. Everybody was supporting them on Reddit, on YouTube, everywhere. And there were just these mainstream publications that were writing articles that were filled with lies, and they were the only ones that were actually kind of saying Gamergate was bad. It was propaganda. It was absolutely propaganda.
This game design master program is like every cliche about some brain-rotted, politically obsessed weirdo combined. These people don't even seem to actually like video games. They're just using it to try and spread their weird rhetoric.
That's exactly what the problem is. He's completely right. Is that it's completely focused around using video games as a tool to spread rhetoric, rather than using video games as a medium for entertainment. Like, they basically want to take over the medium and then use it as a machine that they can push their agenda with. It's basically like what a parasite would do, like, unironically.
This thread, by the way, if you go to Sweden for Game Design Master Program, you'll likely be taught that Cloud Strife is a classic transgender character design. All because out of the entire game of Final Fantasy VII, there's like 5 minutes where Cloud wears a dress to infiltrate this club. Oh, hey, he's got to be trans.
Jesus Christ.
By the way, what a great way to reinforce...
Yeah, it's people are just trying to push agendas. It's obvious.
Gender stereotypes. And these people actually talk about making societal progress. But once again, all they really do is reinforce gender norms. And they never see this hypocrisy with their rhetoric because they're too blinded by their own fake moral superiority, acting like they're the most virtuous people out there. And of course, if you disagree with their lame, insane rhetoric...
And this is the reason why a lot of the rhetoric and stuff like this has fallen off and a lot of people aren't buying into it anymore, is because as soon as this type of thinking is exposed to an open market, I think that people immediately come to the conclusion that it's wrong. And that's why for such a long time, it was absolutely necessary for these people to exist inside of closed spaces that were hyper-moderated, because any space that isn't hyper-moderated immediately turns against them. And you see that on, like, for example, like Reddit is hyper-moderated, and Reddit has a lot of people that are in support of this kind of stuff. And even Reddit, it doesn't have that. But, and Reddit is hyper-moderated because of how effective it was. Twitter is not hyper-moderated. Twitch chat is not hyper-moderated. Like 4chan isn't hyper-moderated. So why is it then that in every single unmoderated space, these opinions are completely unpopular? It's because they can't exist in a free marketplace of ideas. And these people know that, and that's why they're trying to censor and shut down places like Twitter.
Just a far-right extremist. On that note about Cloud Strife, you also might find this pretty dang amusing. So there was a Substack article about Cloud Strife. You also might find this pretty dang amusing. So there was a Substack article posted on February 1st, 2024 titled "Prove to Me You're the Man, an analysis of gender and sexuality in Final Fantasy VII. Also known as my long-winded excuse for saying why Cloud Strife is trans. With the upcoming release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth."
My long-winded excuse for saying he's trans? We have to pull up the bit. We have to pull up the thing. Give me a minute. So I made a chart for this. So there's a sexual identification, and if you look in here, trans is it's somewhere around, like, I'd say, you know, like here or here, right? And so cross-dressing, drag, and like all of this stuff, even femboys, these are people who are not trans. So the difference between being transsexual and cross-dressing is that it's the individual's personal identity. Cloud Strife does not become a female when they wear a dress. That's the difference. And this is what people don't understand, is that cross-dressing and being a femboy or wearing women's clothes does not make you a woman, whereas a trans person believes that they are a woman or a man. They believe that they're the opposite gender. Cloud never believed that he was the opposite gender when he wore that dress. Isn't this obvious?
My mind is filled with nostalgia for the original game, while I personally never played it. Yeah, so that's all that we need to read. As you can see, these sort of people that want to use games to facilitate their political brain rot are in reality just a bunch of posers. Of course, that doesn't mean that every gamer needs to play Final Fantasy VII. I'm specifically talking about these sort of people within all of the context that we went over. Now, returning to this Chinese dev who crashed the Sweden Game Design Master Program, well, it seems like they found out that their panels were leaked, and they're very upset that this stuff got released to the internet. The dev having provided more information.
I think that that's also very, very telling, is that when you have people who are worried that, you know, basically, why is it so problematic that the public knows about this happening? Why is it bad that this has been made public? Think about that.
On a Chinese platform that reads, "My post had a negative impact on the school's reputation, and many LGBT students were also psychologically harmed, as well as teachers and classmates in the photos. I'm sorry, but I won't be making any more posts like this in the future." Just now, the director of the academy called me to the office, and then directly projected the post I made in Bar B on the big screen, and then asked Kobe if it was me.
Billy.
After being told I would have a serious negative impact on the school, teachers, and LGBT classmates by posting such posts, I realized my mistake and promised not to post such things in the future. You're telling me that the school...
Oh my god.
...was claiming that this harmed them so much and psychologically harmed people when all this person really did was be like...
What these people do is that what they do is they look at... They try to make synonymous violence with thinking. And the reason why is so they can justify violence against thinking. So the reason why silence is violence is because these people want to be violent to people who are silent. It's that simple.
Yo, here's what they're teaching in this class. I think that alone speaks volumes about the sort of nonsense that's going on there. Ultimately, I just thought you guys would find this interesting for very obvious reasons. Let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is in Asia? Well, it was in Sweden, right? And I think it was somebody from China, or there was like some overlap for it or something like that. Is it too much to ask for no politics or sexuality stuff in games? Well, one thing that I've said before is that if you're okay with something and you don't think something is a problem, or you do think something is a problem, don't ever let somebody else tell you that you're not allowed to have your own opinion. So, like, for example, there's a lot of people who argue from the perspective of like, well, because I don't agree with this and I think this is a bad idea, it's nobody else should be allowed to think this way, or nobody else does think this way. There are a lot of people out there who do have like very regressive views, and while I disagree with those views, I can't just simply tell them that those views can't exist, because that I don't have any control over that person, right? And by the way, that's a good thing, because if I had control over that person, then logically that person also would have control over me. And so you don't want to have and live in a world where you have your viewpoint that's like forced on you by like the public opinion. That's unpopular for everyone. And so that's really what my point is.